Good evening, everyone. This is your host, your friend Akash. Now, children, we've already discussed an ample lot about the critical and the most important basics of English language. Now, children, you need to understand that these are different beads that have been presented to you in a very segregated manner. Now, you need to read. Read means perona. So you need to read something out of it. So there is a beautiful garland that you have to create out of these small buds and flowers. What are these buds? What are these flowers? Everything that we've studied in different tutorials as different modules are buds for you, are flowers for you, out of which you need to read them into one thread. And then you need to form a garland called the English language, and that will definitely bring out the extract and the beauty of the language itself. So children, we've already discussed about infinitives, that is to, along with the verb's base form or the verb itself, which becomes the infinitive form of non-finite verbs. Then we've discussed about gerunds. Gerunds were verb forms, the continuous verb forms that acted as nouns. So every word or every verb that accepted an ing as the suffix and behaved like a noun fell under the category of gerunds. So now we hop on to the third non-finite verb, that is participles. There are two types of participles, the present participle and the past participle. Children, today we are only going to cover the present participle form, which is again the continuous form of any verb you talk about or you exemplify over here. So let's deal with what participles are or what participle as a concept is. Now, we talk about participles or we define participles into two different categories here. One is the present category and the other is the past participle category. So let us talk about the present participle category here. The present participles are verb forms, or in general, the participles are verb forms that are used to modify a noun or a noun phrase, verb or a verb phrase. So in a way, if you start compiling here the previous info that I've already given to you, and of course the general introduction that has been given to you by every teacher who has taught you English or the grammar of English, you will come to a result that participles may behave either as adjectives or they may behave as adverbs, since the definition itself says it may either modify a noun, and if it modifies, it adorns a noun, it becomes an adjective. Similarly, if it modifies a verb, it becomes an adverb. So the definition is very clear, and it's a very simple concept that needs to be mapped onto your brain and practiced until perfection. So that's the only key, as I've kept on repeating in possibly every tutorial of mine, that practice is the key to perfection in anything at all, particularly the language that we're not accustomed to. So let's move ahead. So participles take two segregations. They are further divided into two categories or two broad families, that is the present participle and the past participle. The present participle simply is the ing as the suffix to any verb, used either as adjective or as adverb, just as we discussed in the previous screen. And past participles are usually the third form of every verb. So if I say comprehend, the past participle becomes comprehended. If I say break, the past participle is broken. So we are not supposed to get on with this past participle concept. Rather, we will here focus on present participle. So let's move ahead. Now children, I've already briefed you with what present participle is or what present participle in general is. Now it's the ing form. So that is the continuous form of any verb that act or behave as adjective or as an adverb. So that form or that continuous form of verb which behaves as an adjective or an adverb is definitely not a verb, but it is the present participle. So it's very simple to decode. As many times as you write it on your notebook, definitely not the definition, but few examples that will be quoted in the further or up ahead, the better understanding you will have towards the participle concept. So moving ahead, we're going to discover, or let us say we're going to traverse through a few examples. Now here, what you see on the screen so far is examples of present participle, but they will behave as adjectives, not as anything else, but adjectives here. Now let us see how do present participle of any verb behave like an adjective. Okay, so on the left and on the right, of course, we've got words, we've got basically phrases where there is one word written in black and the other is written in red. So the one or the ones that are written in black are all the present participle, because you will see very clearly, very apparently, that all these words written in black end up in ing. So that is the present participle form, right? And these words are being used, of course, not as verbs but as adjectives. So let's see how it's done. Running shoes. So here we first need to focus on the noun. If I frame this phrase, or I paraphrase this into a sentence, we will definitely end up with the fact that shoes become the noun here. Similarly, in the second example, the kite will act as the noun or the subject here. Similarly, tools will become the subject or the noun. So shoes, kite and tools are being modified here, because they might be trekking shoes, they might be formal shoes, they might be casual shoes, they might be sports shoes, and under sports you get spiked shoes. For cricket you get different kind of spiked shoes for football or soccer. So here I'm basically talking about running shoes. So what kind of shoes? Shoes is being defined, is being modified by the word called running, whereas running has been derived from the verb called run, and it accepts the ing form here, or the ing extension as a suffix. So running here becomes an adjective and shoes is the noun here. Take the second last example in the first column itself, cooking oil. So what kind of oil are we talking about? It's a cooking oil. Take the fourth last example again. So it's typing mistake. So it's a kind of a mistake. What kind of? A human mistake, a typing mistake, a mechanical mistake, right? A bot mistake or a computer mistake. Here I'm talking about a typing mistake. So typing gives me the exact or the precise way as to how should I interpret this mistake. So it's a kind of mistake that has been created because of wrong typing. Similarly, let's move on to the second column or the column to the right on the screen. We see a triggering event, right? Pandemic. The pandemic that we're going through, it's a triggering event, right? It has triggered several things all around the world. So triggering here it simply means an embarking event, or any event that starts up something. So here I've termed it as triggering event. Okay, an accepting demeanour. What's demeanour? Demeanour is simply behavior, right? So accepting behavior. A calculating device. A calculator is a calculating device. So here calculating functions as an adjective, because we are here talking about a device, right? And what kind of device it is? It's a calculative or a calculating device. Living room. What kind of room is it? It's a living room. Now let me go back to the concept of compound nouns, because if I say bedroom, now here bed, if written as a different word other than room, it becomes an adjective here. But if I use bedroom with a hyphen in between, or if I combine the two words to form one word, it becomes, or it serves the purpose of a compound noun. So the way you write it, the way you place a word in a sentence, it changes the entire concept of that word. As I've again repeatedly told you when we were talking about or when I was like deciphering or explaining you the very first tutorials of mine. Now third last on the right column, it's shimmering eyes, glittering eyes, right? Gleaming eyes. So shimmering, gleaming, glittering, all are adjectives, but then they have been derived from verbs, and they accept the continuous form of every verb. Let's move ahead. Let's use a few examples in sentences, because framing sentences is as easy as understanding it. So the walking man doesn't seem to be fit. The man is definitely walking, yet he does not seem to be fit. Okay, the interviewing panel is quite witty. So I'm talking about what kind of panel are we talking about here, because the panel forms the subject for us in the second sentence. What kind of panel is it? It's an interviewing panel, a panel or one which interviews the interviewees. So the rising sun is pretty enchanting. I'm sorry I missed a few. Now here, it's a typing mistake. So it's a kind of a mistake that has occurred or that has come up front because of typing. Now the rising sun is pretty enchanting. What kind of sun are we talking about? Not the setting one, but the rising one. All right. The smart looking gentleman is dressed well. So looking here serves the purpose of an adjective. Although smart clubbed along with looking forms a compound adjective. All right. Just the way we define compound nouns. Okay. News channels primarily are responsible for broadcasting news. So here, when you'll notice, right, in the previous slide as well as on this screen, what you will see here is that every time if an ing extension of a verb occurs right before or it precedes a noun, अगर ये ing फॉर्म किसी नाउन से जस्ट पहले आता है, एग्जैक्टली पहले आता है, तो ये जो ing फॉर्म ऑफ वर्ब है ये मोस्टली और एक एडजेक्टिव की तरह फंक्शन करेगा. सो इफ यू प्लेस द कंटिन्यूस फॉर्म ऑफ अ वर्ब, द प्रेजेंट पार्टिसिपल फॉर्म ऑफ अ वर्ब right before a noun, it will at any cost, no matter what, behave like an adjective. So that's the rule. That's the placement arena for this particular word. So a straw can also be used as a stirring tool. Similarly, TMH, Tata McGraw-Hill, is one of the best publications that I have ever studied so far. So Tata McGraw-Hill is one of the best printing houses, right? Houses and then printing houses. It's not the general houses that we've got boards in or we live in. It's a printing house where printing is done. So decoding this is really easy, and to make it easier, I'm going to make this video accompany with another text file where you'll have to read a little, you'll have to examine a little, you'll have to exercise your skills or your reading skills and your examination about this tutorial, and then of course then comes your backup part, that is the longevity that you will provide to what you have studied so far, because it's all about retaining right till the end. If you don't retain it, you are definitely not learning English as a language, but only as a curriculum or course. So that will be limited. So let's not limit our learning. Let's improve our skills rather than our education. So the better your skills, or the more improvement your skills will see, the better your understanding towards any subject will become. That's the way to work it out with every subject. Particularly with subjects like business studies, talk about economics, talk about statistics, talk about, let's switch over to the other stream called sciences. That includes chemistry, includes physics, includes mathematics, includes biology. Now all these have got multiple theorems that have been proved in both ways, theoretically as well as practically, right, or calculatively in terms of mathematics. But then there is one base point, there is one common point, there is one bottom line that you will have to go through, that is understanding the concepts, and that those concepts will definitely be written in English language, because that is your first medium that you've chosen to study at or in. So it's better we need to grasp this language in a wholesome manner so that we don't falter in any of these subjects, right? Because this will form the base to everything. Thank you, children. I hope you're keeping good health, you're eating healthy, and you're definitely obeying your parents. Thank you, everyone. Have a great time ahead. God bless.